Going to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call for the approval of the minutes of the June 17, 2020 meeting.
Motion to move 2.1 through 2.5.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to move the minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries. Willie, are you a yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Public forum for this evening? There's nobody for the public forum for this evening. We'll move on to presentations. Call Frank Mulhorn, Advantage After School Program and Brighter Futures. Frank? Welcome.
I'm going to mute so you can take your mask down. Yeah, and then you'll be 6 feet.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I wish to inform the board and explain some of the programs that are going on right now, but two in particular, Brighter Futures Initiative and the Advantage After School Program in Ellenville. As you know, I'm responsible for the My Brother's Keeper program. It's a $150,000 grant every year. Currently, we are sponsoring online programs in mindfulness, yoga, and career employment readiness. We're also supporting 3 high school students with transportation so they can get to work at their summer jobs. Besides My Brother's Keeper, we have Ulster County Summer Youth Employment Program, federally funded TANF, Temporary Assistant for Needy Families grant. There are 7 youth ages 15 to 19 working this summer with our staff right here next door at the TV Media Center, ELV radio station, and computer technology department. The youth employees are paid $12.50 an hour, and they work 20 to 35 hours a week each. Their salary comes through Ulster County Office of Employment and Training and federal funding. The third program I'm going to mention, which is highlighted in the agenda, is the Brighter Futures Initiative from the Ulster County Restorative Justice and Community Empowerment Center. That's a $42,000 per year grant, and it provides support services for select youth ages 16 to 20. That means that a youth could get help while in high school, and the support would follow them into a career or college until the age of 20. Currently, we're supporting transportation needs and activity program access. So some of our youth who had an interest but didn't have money would get support to join a health club or some other activity program that had a cost. We provide materials for work and self-help courses. We're providing mentoring and mentor services as well, and that's what's in your packet. If you look at the one under Brighter Futures Initiative, we're now posting for and hiring academic mentors and community life mentors. We hope to have this posting up tomorrow, and so we figure by the middle to late August period of time, we will have some people in place. An academic mentor are people who are New York State secondary level teacher and or school counselor certified and have familiarity working with adolescents relative to guiding them on their assignments, specific goals and recommendations, for school success. We're hiring 3 academic support mentors to work with select students. We have 13 students we're tracking right now. We will go up to 20 by September. We're also hiring 2 community life mentors. These are applicants who have experience with youth employment, youth work, community integration, or life skills training. And we're looking to hire 2 people to serve as mentors to these youth that we're looking at. All of this emanates out of the board resolution that was passed on May 19, 2020, supporting our engagement with Ulster County Restorative Justice Center and the Brighter Futures Initiative. So I thank you for that so that we can move forward, and I'll be happy to keep you posted on what's happening.
I just want to make a comment. All of this whole program is funded by a grant through the Ulster County Brighter Futures Initiative. So this is not district money. This is all funded through a separate agency, although the rates we'll be paying are in alignment with our contractual, a collective bargaining agreement, and it will be posted for our staff to apply.
Yes. Actually, every one of the programs I mentioned today is not district money. They're all grants. Everything I work with is a grant. So My Brother's Keeper, New York State Ed Grant, Ulster County Summer Youth Employment, federally funded TANF grant, Brighter Futures Initiative comes through Ulster County Restorative Justice. The last one I'm going to mention is also a grant, which has a bit of a history to it, and that's the Advantage After School Program, which is through the New York State Office of Children and Family Services. It's a 5-year grant allotting $288,000 a year each year. It will provide after-school programs for Ellenville Middle School and high school students, 70 in each program, maximum capacity. It will start in October 2020, and for the 2021 school year, it will be online only. There's a signed partnership agreement with Ellenville School District, allowing this program to operate in the middle school and the high school. I believe the agreements with both the middle school and high school are in your packet. And this is similar arrangement that the district currently has with the YMCA after-school program in the elementary school. The difference is the Advantage After-School program is no charge to families. And we are now posting and hiring for teachers, assistants, activity assistants, and class assistants, and counselors for the programs. And that will be begin after today.
I just want to make a comment about that.
Yep.
So the district is not hiring for this position. The Advantage After School program, the LEA that is running this program is Career Visions.
Yes.
Out of New York City. About probably 12, 13, maybe longer than that, 15 years ago, we had an Advantage After School grant, and we partnered with Family Services that were the LEA. They'll do all the hiring, and they do have rates that are very lucrative, maybe more than our collective bargaining agreements. It'll be opened up to our staff and community members. They are hiring the staff, and they have a building use agreement with us to just use our facility as Family Services did in the past. So it's the same grant, different LEA, and different types of programs that they will offer. But this is not, I know we're in some very difficult economic times. We are not spending district money or taxpayer money or our state aid on this. These are all grant-funded opportunities.
That's the report. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions from the board? John?
Frank, I just want to thank you. It's amazing the amount of programs you put together to help our kids and the amount of grants that you bring in to do it. So speaking for myself and not the rest of the board, I just want to say thank you very much for what you do for our kids.
Could have said everybody but me.
You're welcome.
He's been dying.
Mr. Muller,
I got him,
second
Willie.
that. I'll second that.
Okay. Thank you. If not, thank you very much, Ms. Mull.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
You too, sir.
We'll move on to reports and correspondence for this evening. I want to take this time to welcome our new Assistant Superintendent to her first public meeting. If she'll stand up and meet the public, Mrs. Kelly White.
You have to stand in front of the camera, I guess.
Come on, stand up so everybody can see you. They want to see a face to the name. Here's Mrs. Kelly White. Welcome. We look forward to working with you. Wave to Willie. There we go. We look forward to working with you. Thank you very much. Also for this evening, I think we'll talk, I'll get down, we'll talk about it under the logo. I have nothing else. Any other board member? John?
Yeah, I just want to give us an update on the Hall of Fame. We were behind this year because of the COVID situation, but we do have a Ellenville High School Hall of Fame class of 2020, which I'll announce now, and we'll be putting out a press release this week. We have a total of 5 inductees this year, and I'd like to just let you know who those are. Danielle Borriello was a class of 2013 member. She participated in track and field, was a state champion in discus, had success on the national level in field events, and took a scholarship to Clemson University. So Danielle will be going in. Our second inductee is Amy Capello, class of 92 for softball. She helped lead that Blue Devil team that finished as the state runner-up back in '89. Coach Lewin says that she is the only 5-year varsity player in history of Ellenville High School, and she had a career batting average of over 400. So that's pretty impressive, especially considering she played in her 8th grade. The third person going in is Lance Lewin as a coach, and his accomplishments are too many to mention here, and he's going in. And then our final 2 candidates were 1984 graduates from Ellenville, the Nieves brothers, Anibal and Alberto. They had success on the state, the national, and the Olympic levels in wrestling, and both are currently college wrestling coaches. So that is our class. We will have to set up a time for the Hall of Fame induction, a time and date, because we're not starting our fall sports till September 21st, so we might not even have enough time to have a game in there. We might just wind up having the Hall of Fame committee induction on a Saturday morning in early October, I think. So I'll work with Kermit on that. I'll get the press release out, but it's good. I'm very happy that we got that done. Thank you.
Thank you. Jody, we'll be ready by the next meeting to talk about the mascot.
Yes, we will.
Thank you. Also on the policy committee, Iris, we have several policies
Right.
to get busy on.
So the superintendent would call me and we'll set up a time
Yes.
and she'll figure out what they are all about and we'll schedule a meeting.
Yes.
So just as you thought the work was going to start slowing down, COVID brings us new work.
Oh, it's all policy.
Yeah. Iris?
Yeah, I just wanted to actually thank Vince and the crew for cleaning up the Church Street property. A tree fell down a few weeks ago and they got rid of it really quickly, but they also took the time. The property was starting to look a little ragged around the edges and they took the time to clean it up. So thanks a lot. Looks great.
Thank you. Anybody else for this evening? No? If not, Superintendent Lisa Wiles.
Okay, just a couple of things. The pandemic, as we all know, since last March has really wreaked havoc, right, on the 1920 school year, and it looks like it'll continue for the 2021. While some of us wish that this would all be behind us by now, it's not, and it doesn't look like it's going to be behind us really anytime soon. So with that being said, over the last week, we had anticipated getting guidance documents from the New York State Education Department and the New York State Department of Health with regard to develop for school districts in New York State to develop reopening plans. And the documents are online, and we used those documents to begin the work in the last couple of weeks of developing a draft 2021 response to the COVID-19 health crisis and reopening plan. So I want to tell you a little bit about the plan, a little bit about our approach, some of the items that are in the plan. And again, I want to stress that our plan is a draft document right now. The plan has to be filed and it will be on our website by the end of the day on July 31st. And the superintendents across the state have a document that they have to complete that assures that everything in that guidance document, the mandatory items, are all included in our plan. So it's been a monumental task, but our plan is going to focus on really 4 areas. first and foremost, no matter what the model of learning is, the health and safety and well-being of our students and staff will be the priority. We will continue to provide learning opportunities and an educational plan and focus on equity. There'll be flexibility that we work towards for families and staff. And the fourth piece of it is we will have a communication plan. So as things develop and things get modified, it'll be communicated out to our family and community. So I have to say that whatever plan rolls out by July 31st is going to be a fluid document. You know, the guidance changes, things change. This virus is very unpredictable. The results of what happens from this virus is unpredictable. But just because we have a plan in place, you know, in August or September, doesn't necessarily mean that'll be the plan or the model that we're looking at, you know, as the school year progresses. I have to say that it is not up to the school districts whether or not we reopen. These plans will be reviewed, and our attestations will be reviewed by the state. It is ultimately the governor's decision if schools will reopen, and he has already said publicly he'll be making that decision by the end of the first week in August based on some metrics and percentages of what the infection rate is in the state. Out of our control, out of our hands. He'll tell us when we have to open by region and when we have to close by region. That being said, the documents we received from the state, we had a 23-page document from the Department of Health that was released initially, followed by 2 other documents that included checklists to include from the Department of Health that really focused on health and safety. And the second document we received late last week from the New York State Education Department was a 145-page document. All of these documents are available online at the New York State Education Department site and the Department of Health, New York State Department of Health site. We will have a reopening plan link on our website so that you can obtain all of those documents and our documents once we finalize everything. So, needless to say, a 145-page document has a lot in it. We've been working really round the clock, so to speak, to develop a plan that identifies all of the salient mandatory areas. One of the things that is required in this plan is to have ongoing communication with stakeholders in the community. We started with a meeting with the executive committee of the union last Friday. Yesterday, we had a joint meeting of our wellness committee and our health and safety committee, which included teachers, staff members, law enforcement, community-based organizations, the hospital, and we had membership and representation from all of the required participants of both of those plans. We had our nurses, we remotely met, and we will continue having meetings. Tomorrow, the buildings are having their building level team meetings. They will have a draft copy of this plan that they will go over for feedback. And on Friday, we'll be meeting with the union again after they've had the opportunity to really see one of the final draft copy of this plan for any additional concerns, so that next week we can work through this and we can finalize a plan. We'll have a special meeting sometime next week so the board can approve it and we can post it up on our website. So that's the procedure and the plan that we're looking forward to move forward with. So we will have a communication plan. There's a number of health and safety issues that have to be addressed. But before we even get to health and safety issues and what that looks like, school districts have to identify various learning models and school schedules. And those learning models are pretty prescribed in the sense that we have to meet all the safety and health requirements, transportation requirements, special ed, bilingual, attendance requirements that are prescribed in the plan. So there's three different models that school districts can look at. The first one's unrealistic right now. It's that all the students come back. and we start school. And if this virus was under control, that would be a model to reopen. But since that's not the case, there's two other models we can look at. Full remote distance learning model like we had, but very different from last spring, because things have to be different. Last spring, from March to June, we were building a plane at 30,000 feet, right? We were building a program at 30,000 feet, slapping it together with really no guidance and doing the best we can with what we had, including getting technology into the hands of our students and staff that couldn't report to the building. That will be very different this year. So we can do full remote, or we can do what schools and the state's calling hybrid models, where you have a combination of in-person instruction and a combination of distance learning instruction. So that being said, the requirements that go into that is that in order to bring students back into the building, you have to, with staff, you have to have socially distanced areas of 6 feet apart. And the guidance said if you can't, and the guidance from the state says if you can't have socially distanced areas or connections of 6 feet apart, everybody has to be masked. So everyone being masked is also a challenge, especially for our younger students, having a mask on, or for any of us having a mask on for 7 full hours, during the day, and having meaningful instruction. So we did a lot of measuring and laying out of classrooms, and the guidance also tells us that if we're going to have in-person instruction, we should really focus first on the lower grade levels, because what became very apparent during last spring was that it was more difficult for younger students, K1, 2, 3, and those primary grades, to really connect and learn remotely. So we looked at the models. There's school districts that are doing different models. The model that we're looking at right now is an in-person model for grades K through 6. We're looking at doing what the state has advised, breaking the whole population of K-12, but primarily K-6, into cohorts. So we'll have a cohort A and a cohort B. It'll be 50% of the enrollment. K through 6 will be in cohort A, cohort B. Those cohorts will be developed with families remaining in the same cohort. So if you have 2 children, they'll be in cohort A. The schedule that we're looking at is having all the teachers, K-12, here in the building. K-6, 50% of the students coming in modified small classes, and the other 50%, cohort B, remoting into the classroom. We have technology that we're putting together. We are in the process of working, Vince is in the process of ordering PPE as required and as needs to be required for masks and all different types of barriers to make our environment as safe as can be. And we're following all the guidance, and we hope if we can get this plan implemented the way we want to, that we'll be able to have some type of in-person instruction. Now, I just have a few things I have to say. That's if we can keep everybody safe. I also want to tell you that we put a survey out to our parents, and the survey that went out to our parents, we had got some very good information back. We had 500 responses from families, and Kelly will be, when she does her report, sharing those salient results. But I can tell you that about 60% of the responses said that they want their children to come back to school, with safety measures in place. And about 40% of our families that responded said that they're very uncomfortable about sending their child back, and that they probably would not. So if we're going to be putting more information, once this plan is finalized, we'll be formally surveying individual families about if you're not comfortable or prepared to send your child back, give us your name. We're going to work and be flexible, because that's the other thing the state wants us to be, is flexible. Now, I want to talk about accommodations and modifications, because I understand there are things out there. I cannot stress enough how important the safety and health of the students and the staff are for us. And we know, based on the guidance, and we just know intuitively, that there are people that are vulnerable populations. And there's a part of the documents that have been shared with us that are very specific about what a vulnerable population is. And we will be working with people, staff members and students and families, for those that are vulnerable or have vulnerable or living with people that are vulnerable, to put together accommodations and modifications for those specific needs. So we are not tone deaf about those needs. We are going to be listening very carefully. And again, if we can do this, we're going to do this, but we are going to make sure that our community is safe. And that is the priority. That's the priority when I call a snow day and everyone freaks out that there's no snow. It's going to be the same thing. We're going to make sure that our staff and our students are safe primarily. And if they can't come here, that the instruction will look different than it looked like when we were building the plane at 30,000 feet. I can tell you the ETSRP did a survey and they shared those results. And staff has concerns about the safety and health. And remember, this is prior to us getting any guidance documents, and it's prior to us putting a plan together and prior to us getting their input. I just want to talk a little bit about grades 7 through 12. You know, it's not like we don't want to bring any students back 7 through 12. We understand there's been a very huge impact on the social, emotional well-being of everybody involved here, all of our students and our staff, and that's very important to us. And it's also important that the state, has put very specific guidelines that have to be in our plans with regard to social, emotional wellness. And we'll be addressing that, and we will be working diligently with all our stakeholder groups to make sure everybody is safe. So the staff, some of the staff, a good percentage of them want to come back into the building, want some semblance of normalcy, but want to do it in a very safe manner. Everyone understands that instruction has to look different. I think we have always had a very, very committed staff here that I am very grateful for. And I think everyone stepped up last year, and people will continue to step up to serve our children well. And I will tell you, with the tragedies that we've seen over the years, and most recently, this community is known for pulling together when we have to overcome the obstacles that we do. Say what you want about Ellenville, I'll argue with you every time, but we are a strong community, and we will put something in place here that does the best for our children and our staff in the best way possible. So we're all working really hard on this. We have a very, very short, biggest criticism I have here is that we just got this document last Thursday, and within 2.5 weeks, we have to turn a plan around and file it with the state. It's an impossible task. That's why whatever we come up with, there will be challenges and holes in this plan, and we just have to be committed to continuously improve it. There's no way in 2 weeks. Look, the state and the federal government doesn't have all the answers. There's no way we're going to have all the answers, and we have to be committed to continuous change and just addressing the challenges as they come up. People are going to be frustrated. We're frustrated, but we all need to work together calmly and consistently for the best interest of our kids. So we gave the board a copy of this document. The BLT is getting a copy of this document. The public and our parents in a week and a half, right? The end of a week from this Friday, we'll have the document and a summary of the document. It's going to be translated into other languages for families. We're working really hard. It's not going to be perfect, but we're going to work really hard to make it as perfect as it can be. So the areas in this that are required is learning modules and school schedules. As I told you about the hybrid, health and safety with regard to temperature checks and all kinds of PP&E that have to be purchased that we're going to put in place. Transportation of our students, trying to break the cohorts 50-50, 50% walkers, 50% on the bus, so that we can move students in the buildings in some semblance of order. Teaching and learning, the buildings are working on their remote learning plans that will be attached to this plan. We're addressing our students that have special needs, special education, ELL students, students that don't have access to technology is going to be students that we address. We're working with BOCES on the Career and Tech program that will continue in a different model. We are required and will have better absenteeism, technology and connectivity, athletics. Let me just say a little bit about athletics. We were advised that the fall sports right now have been delayed until the middle of September, September 21st. If the governor and the state tell us that we're not going to have fall sports, from what I understand, the tentative plan is to run 3 seasons beginning in January in 10-week blocks, where there'll be no championship opportunities or sectionals, but there will be an opportunity for students to compete. That's the guidance right now. I'm telling you that could change, one way or the other. We're looking at our facilities. Food service must continue, whether students are here or not here. The meals, breakfast and lunch will be accessible and delivered when students are at home or on full online. 2 of the things I do have to tell you that have been a little bit frustrating. In this guidance document, and I'm just going to say it, there's a whole section about budget and fiscal matters. So we're keeping track of every dollar that's being spent and is costing the district above and beyond. There has been no guidance. We're at July 21st this evening. The June 30th look back has passed. There's been no guidance on state aid. As you know, due to what our contract is and what our fiscal situation is, we had to make budgetary reductions. We have had no guidance from the state. And in this document, when it tells us about all the things that we have to do, it's very clear that we're not getting any additional support or funds to pay for any of these mandates, and that we can still consider there's strong consideration that there'll be a reduction in our state aid based on what the economic outlook is in New York State. So I am not blind to the fact that we are all struggling in the state, and the economics of the state are really at a level that they haven't been. But once again, the state and the governor is asking school districts to do more with less, and we're going to do that. But it'd be neglectful for me not to say that this district and other districts like us cannot continue along these ways forever. We have been utilizing our fund balance and our reserves. We've kept taxes down to the tax cap. We're doing what we have to do, but it's taking a hit. And the equity of what our kids get as opposed to districts that have more funds is more and more glaring every day. And that is not lost in this. The other thing that's, we're all for accountability for all of us, but the idea that an APPR evaluation system that we have when we're in session could be rolled out the same way when we're on this blended or hybrid models is unrealistic. We are going to work with the ETSRPA to make the modifications that we can, but those plans will have to be submitted to the state for approval. So the plan is also going to include multiple, right now we're up to Appendix K of procedures and protocols that we have to have. We will be posting this plan that's finalized on our website on July 31st, if not sooner. We're hoping to get this done next week, by the early next week, so we can get a resolution and get it done prior to the 31st. So again, it's really about the safety and health of our staff and our students. If people have medical issues, we're going to address them. And I have to say that publicly. If you have a concern about it for for your children or yourself or a staff member does, I would encourage you to call my office so that we have that information. We'll be sending out correspondence, but if you have angst and frustration and worry about this, call our office so that we have that information ahead of time. So we're going to be working with our community. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Assistant Superintendent for Business, Mr. Napoli.
Thank you. Two quick items. We have purchased, or we've ordered through our Smart Bond funds, 90 interactive boards. Consider them smart boards. They're 75-inch displays, K through 8, so that will help our teachers with remote learning. And if you see 3 roll-off dumpsters in the parking lot, it's because that's all the garbage from the installation. And we also have 1,100 Chromebooks on order to help supplant the ones that we issued for everyone going home. 90 interactive smart boards and about 1,100 Chromebooks. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the first time, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, Mrs. Kelly White.
Good evening. So during this time of transition, a lot of my attention has been focused on developing the reopening plans with the administrative team, but there are a couple of things that I do want to report out on. So one of the things we did prior to putting together our reopening plan was that on July 8th, we opened our Ellenville Central School District Distance Learning Reflection and Reopening Survey for parents and guardians to complete. It was open for 10 days, and we collected 487 responses. Some of the highlights from that survey informed us that about 50% of the parents found that our distance learning plans that were implemented worked well for them as a parent and for their children. We also found that about 80% of the students were able to effectively use the online programs that we had our teachers using for teaching and learning. So the majority of those were the Google Apps for Education. There was a question regarding if parents would be interested in receiving training on any of the tools that we have our teachers using, and there was a response for parents to receive some additional training or some training on using a Chromebook, navigating Google Classroom and Google Drive. As Ms. Wiles said, we had asked a question regarding parents feeling comfortable sending their children back to school. That was about a 60-40 split. So we have about 60% of our parents at this time stating that they will be comfortable sending their children back to school, but 40% stating that they are not comfortable sending their children back. We still have about 30% of our students in need of a Chromebook to engage in distance learning, and that may be because maybe they were initially using their own home device, or they had children sharing a device, or coming into the district and still need a device. And lastly, we have about 10% of the district reporting that they do not have regular and sufficient access to high-speed internet. So that's something that we need to brainstorm some ideas for supporting families with. Additionally, we ran the 3 scenarios, the proposed reopening scenarios by parents, and we received a lot of great feedback, and we were able to incorporate a lot of their recommendations and address some of their concerns in the draft of our plan. Like Ms. Wiles said, will be posted on the district website at the end of the day on July 31st. Additionally, ongoing right now, we have summer professional development and curriculum writing ongoing through the summer. So far, our staff members have taken place in 12 professional development courses, workshops, and they have addressed supporting teaching and learning in a virtual world, many of them, and also responses to support students that are experiencing trauma. And we have 11 additional workshops upcoming through the rest of the summer. We have sent out a survey to the participants of these, and I've been reviewing the feedback. There's been some concerns regarding workshop descriptions, which we are addressing. We had 31 teachers approved for curriculum writing hours and on a variety of curriculum projects. We have, for example, 2 new music courses coming into the high school this year, so writing the scope and sequences for those. It's replacing a course that they were phasing out. We also have recommended that teachers align their curriculum to the next generation learning standards as they have to be fully implemented next September, and continuing to work on preparing additional learning materials for distance learning. And just on my radar for the future in terms of things that I'd like to see addressed is for future professional development. I want to work closely with the ETS RPA to make sure that we're working together to determine what the professional development needs of the staff are, including allowing staff members to submit proposals to teach professional development workshops, and also having more evaluations after workshops to determine their effectiveness. Additionally, I like to see some work, this year regarding curriculum maps to ensure that the maps are clearly outlining the content and the skills that are taught at each grade level, K through 6, and at each course 7 through 12, ensuring that there's alignment and coherence. And I'd like to see the maps posted to our district website so that they're accessible by the public. And in addition to things being posted on the district website, I would like to look into maybe see what other school districts have out there in terms of layout and content of their website to make it a little more user-friendly. And that's all I'm reporting out on this evening.
Thank you very much. We will move on to personnel resolutions for this evening. Under 6.1, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that Tracy Berry be approved to participate in summer tool training at.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? No one. Motion carries. 6.2, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that Eliza Espinosa be approved to provide implicit bias training on August 13th and August 14th at a rate of $41 per hour work, not to exceed 12 hours.
Move.
It's been moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? No one. Motion carries. 6.3, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that the attached list of teachers be approved to participate in summer CSE and CPSE meetings.
Move the list.
Been moved.
Second.
Seconded. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? No one. Motion carries. 6.4, certified subs. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that Emily
Motion to
Vosper.
move the list.
List has been moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that Marissa Ball Cruz be appointed uncertified substitute teacher at a rate of $95 per day work for the 2021 school year.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries. 6.6, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that Justin Meyer be approved to complete curriculum writing for global history and geography, grade 9, new framework not to exceed 20 hours at a rate of $41 per hour work for 2021 school
So
year.
moved.
Second.
Moved, seconded. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries. 6.7, summer PD. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that Lynn Gallagher be approved to participate in summer professional development sessions for a total of 7 hours at a rate of $41 per hour work for 2021
So
school year.
moved.
Second.
Moved to second. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? No one. Motion carries. 6.8, summer PD and curriculum writing. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that Nadia Mulville's participation in summer professional development curriculum writing sessions be amended as follows for a total of 20 hours at a rate of $41 per hour worked.
Second.
Do I have a motion? And do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries. 6.9, abolishment of director of facilities. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that the director of facilities 2 position be abolished effective close of business July 31st, 2020. Be it further resolved, been moved.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? John?
Lisa, I know that this position is being abolished in large part because of the budget cuts, but I think it's noticeable to anyone that visits the district that in the last few years, the buildings and grounds and the facilities have looked exceptionally well. It wasn't that long ago where you would go down by the track in August and the grass along the fence would be knee high. So my question is, God willing, the governor ever gives us the money we're due, could this position be brought back in so that we can maintain the upkeep and work on the district areas that we need it for?
The plan is that we bring back all the positions if and when the governor does, so yes.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries. On to budget resolutions. for this
Motion to move
evening.
7-1 and 7-2.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries. On to education resolutions. 8.1, resolve the attached list of student IEPs be acknowledged. as
Motion to
appropriate.
move 8-1 and 8-2.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for 8.1 and 8.2. All those in favor? Well, discussion first, I'm sorry. All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries. Memorial Award. Resolved that the Lester Kleiman Memorial Scholarship in the amount of $20,000 be established pursuant to the terms and criteria designed by the donor. 2 students in a given year for 10 years, 21 through 2030.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Just want to thank the family for providing this scholarship to us. Very generous. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries. On to other.
Motion to move 9-1 and 9-5.
Moved and seconded to move 9.1 to 9.5. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Lisa?
I was just late.
You're in favor? Yep. Okay, so it's unanimous. Motion carries. 9.6, Ellenville Central School District logo adoption. Be it resolved that the attached logo be approved. Can I get a motion to bring this to the floor? Been moved. Seconded. Discussion. Any discussion on this?
So we're talking about, because there's lots of things here with the color, the options. What exactly are we looking at as our logo? I'm a little bit confused.
Option
on that.
2. If you scroll down to option 2, the colors are Pantone 286 and Pantone 109. And it has the blue.
It actually says option 2, but then it goes after further, it says option
So we're
1.
talking about Pantone, the blue and the
Yeah.
gold, the standard.
286 and 109, those are the colors that we'll be using. It won't be the light blue on the bottom, it'll be the royal blue on both the top and the bottom with the gold and the white on the tree.
And so that light blue is not included.
We'll be using the darker blue on the bottom.
Okay. And then every time we order uniforms or clubs and advisors order shirts, we should be using these colors from now on.
The colors, yes.
Okay.
Mr.
And
Berliner is
actually,
here
they
if we
pull
want
those
further
colors.
description.
Already our colors.
These
right?
are,
Everybody
yes,
determined that.
and we pulled these colors from some of the uniforms that we have.
Mr. Berliner is here if the board wishes to hear from him. Anybody wish to hear from Mr. Berliner? If not, Wayne Story?
I can't hear you, Wayne. Can you speak into
What is the
your-
reasoning for changing our logo? I mean, maybe the one we have needs a little touching up, but I mean, there's words like honor, integrity, and knowledge in that logo. Says who we are, Ellenville Central School District. There's nothing on this that just tells you what we are. In addition, when I went on social media this morning, this logo is almost identical to the Discover Ellenville logo. So there's nothing and I understand Ellenville, Village of Ellenville, Town, but we're saying the school district, we're all one. But I don't really understand what this logo is saying to me. There's no description of what it is. So maybe Mr. Berliner can speak for a minute.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I do, just before he speaks, want to tell you that the school district, the village, and the school, and the town started on a venture to work on a public relations campaign, and this was one of the items that we approved as part of that initiative a year ago. And there was a lot of work done, and I'll defer to Mr. Berliner to maybe explain how this Above.
Mr. Berliner, could you come up to the podium, please?
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just to bring you up to speed, just to build on what Ms. Wiles has just been talking about. Last year, around about pretty much this time last year, I was engaged to work with the town, the village, and the school district on creating a consistent brand and marketing campaign that will act to bring everybody together under one common identity. And I'm sorry, sir, I didn't catch your name or hear your voice, but I was actually quite pleased that you said it looked like exactly like the Discover Ellenville logo, because it is exactly like the Ellenville logo, because that is part of the identity system. It's the same logo, it's the same brand architecture. We are modifying the colors for the school in order to build on proprietary and equity already existing with their current blue and yellow. But the logo for the town and the village is the same as the Discover Ellenville logo, because that's also part of our Discover Ellenville branding and marketing campaign. I think it was towards the end of February, I gave an official presentation to the town and the village, and I believe some of the board members were present at that. It was a video presentation. After that presentation, it definitely felt that everybody was very enthusiastic and very excited to have a logo and a symbol to unite all three stakeholders. The tree itself actually is the existing school logo, the Tree of Knowledge logo that's actually being used right now. That acted as a springboard and the genesis for the creation of this particular mark. And that was part of our challenge. What could we create that would have been appropriate for all three of the stakeholders? The tree still remains as representative of all the attributes, the great attributes that the tree possesses, like strength, truth, knowledge, the tree of knowledge. But it's also now given a sense of place in terms of our surrounding environment. As you see at the backdrop, the shapes in the background are symbolic representations of our mighty Shawangunk Ridge, and the waveform at the bottom is also a nod to the importance that water has played in our history in terms of bringing us here to where we are now through our streams, our rivers, the D&H Canal, and the Rundout Reservoir. And also the tree itself was, integral into how our community came into being. When our first settlers bought swathes of the surrounding forests in order to use the trees to fuel the furnaces on the glassworks, which, as I said, is kind of where we all grew out of. So it does have a lot of meaning and a lot of relevance. It's very new, and that's exactly what we decided we needed. We needed something new, contemporary, fresh, but still, acknowledged our past, where we've come from, and also has given us, I think, a logo that is now appropriate and can be used by three stakeholders while still acting as a unifying symbol and identity for all three of us. So we do look like we're one big family as opposed to three disparate, different areas.
Any questions for Mr. Berliner? John?
Yes, Mr. Berliner, thank you for your work. I know you've been putting extensive efforts into this. We had a lengthy discussion with the board when we decided to partner with the village and the town. We talked about the positives and the negatives of that. One of the things that we talked about was keeping our own identity. And I'll be honest, when I look at our current logo with the tree and the knowledge and that kind of stuff, I agree with Wayne that I've always felt it needed to be updated. And I was never very good at art, but I can't draw nearly enough as you did out of what appears to be a fig tree to me. And to be quite honest with you, I don't see how it represents the Ellenville School District in any way. Even if you look at the old logo, it talks about our history of and what we promote for our students. So I appreciate your efforts, but for me, I'm going to have difficulty with this one.
Well, I mean, you raise a good point, but there are inherent problems with the existing logo right now, which is the fact it's not even being used consistently. The only thing it's being used on in any form of consistency is the current website. Doesn't appear anywhere else.
Well, we use it at graduation. It's up at graduation, and it was up at the board meetings when we had our board meetings on that end of the library. So it's been up and it's around. It's on our publications whenever we put out honor rolls and things like that. So,
well, it didn't appear up in any of our visual audit, but the point is it actually has a lot of inherent reproduction flaws because it is so detailed. It can't be used at small sizes. It can't be embroidered. You know, the goal here was to create something that would have simplicity of use and also be very, very flexible across a very, very wide range of media applications and also printing methodologies and also materials that needs to be printed on. And I think in time, you know, again, and trust me, you know, I completely understand. I'm certainly not going to take anything personally, and it's no egos involved here at all. These things take time to see themselves in the minds of the communities and constituencies. And I think that taken on face value, yes, one could maybe say that it you know, maybe it doesn't quite hit all the buttons you may be expecting. But I think over time, used in context with consistent messaging and being used consistently throughout everyone's communications, I think it will take on the same kind of power and memorability that you have right now. Because I think it's also a signal that, you know, we are moving into a new era. I mean, there's no question that the world has changed around us with a vengeance. And I think that this would be a very good time to signal that change, that we are a forward-thinking, modern thinking school, progressive school, and we have an identity that reflects that.
Thank you, Mr. Berliner. Wayne?
So, yes, Mr. Berliner, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming up and answer the questions. I feel, as John does, I will not be able to support this. In addition, we, in my opinion, in very difficult financial times, have spent a tremendous amount of money, and I don't think we have received the payoff on it in an entire year. So I would like us to have a conversation about, you know, splitting ties with the entire conversation situation respectfully. I just don't think we just laid off a tremendous amount of staff members, and I think that that's a conversation we also need to have. I truly believe that our students and staff can do much better for us than this. That up on the wall behind Mr. Berliner is fantastic. Right there behind you, that picture of that man. And that was done by staff or to your left.
I'm sorry.
Right behind you, in the corner. That was done by staff or students. I don't remember who. But that's a piece of art. And
well, if you feel that you can do,
it's
if
just
you
my
feel that
feelings.
you collectively can do your own logo, then have at it. But the point is, what you have to understand that in February, I gave a formal presentation to the 3 stakeholders, okay? And could I ask for a show of hands of anybody that was at, Lisa, you were there? Anybody else that was there?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to just terminate this conversation. I don't see it as being fruitful at this point. We've heard from Mr. Berliner. Thank you very much. I will now continue. Is there any further discussion on this, Mr. Collins?
I believe I like what we have, but I'm also one of those that right now we're going through a lot of changes in our community. We joined the, so to speak, a coalition to try to promote some unity, try to promote our village and our town. And I think with all of it, being a part of it, there's going to be some changes for everybody. But I think at this time, we need to do more to try to promote that unified body than ever before. We're all in this thing together. We're all trying to grow a community-wide idea of growth and change to the point to where people can see it before they get here. When they go look, they can see it. And I think being a part of that, being one of the most important bodies in this town, I believe that we need to show it first. So I mean, I understand not wanting to change what we have, not necessarily understanding, but I think that's something we need to promote. If there's some little things we need to talk about and put there, fine, let's do them. But I believe the image of the three entities in this town being together is important right now and will be in the future.
Geneva?
I absolutely agree. And at first glance of the logo, it is a very nice logo. I just think if it were on a Google search or if the colors weren't there, you would have no idea what it was representing. And I think that is an important part. You want to understand and represent something, especially if it's a symbol, because that's what a symbol is. There's representation behind it. And also, I don't want to discredit the ability to be unified and still have an identity. You know, just because you want to unify as a group doesn't mean you have to remove bits of history from yourself to make you more modern. And especially being part of the younger generation, I appreciate the aspects of Ellenville that tie me to history, that remind me that even however old I am, I still have a large and long-standing history behind me. And seeing symbols like our current symbol, even if it was modernized, seeing those symbols, that really tie that in together for me. Not saying I don't, and I think it's extremely important to unify with the community. I just don't think that you have to be the same to be unified. And I think that's a really important point.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burns.
When we had this discussion early on, and I certainly didn't mean to have us go at Mr. Berliner that difficult or that harsh, but the bottom line is we also said that we have to, there were certain restrictions in us getting into this triumvirate of groups to promote Ellenville and the area. I think our lawyers advised us that there were certain things we couldn't promote. Am I correct, Lisa? I forget offhand what those were.
Tourism,
tourism and things like that. We were
any
planting.
commerce.
And I agree with Geneva 100%. And sometimes I wonder. I think of things as the old buck, veteran, traditional sense, and I wonder how she has so much wisdom at such a young age. But and looking at our tree that we have, Reverend, I always look at it and say we need to tweak that a little bit. We need to but that's Ellenville Central School District. And I look at this fig tree that Mr. Berliner gave us, and I don't find any way to get Ellenville Central School District out of that. It doesn't represent it at all. I know the people at home can't see it or whatever, but it just doesn't say Ellenville to me. It might say Ellenville, but it doesn't say Ellenville Central School.
Vince, can you put it up on the screen?
Iris?
So perhaps we can do some modification with this and take the sample of the tree that Mr. Berliner gave us and put it into the circle that already exists, where it says ECSD, let each one find the truth he's seeking. Maybe that would work. To, take the logo he gave us, but put our circle around it so that it's more clearly identifying the school district.
Thank you, Iris. Lisa?
I know it is difficult to design by committee, but I do also feel that there could have been more collaboration in coming to this. Mm-hmm. It feels like to me that it was presented a few months ago. We went to the presentation, and then here it is. I kind of feel a little surprised that it's before us tonight.
Well, I will say that back in February or March, I did include this in the packet to share with everyone about where we were going, and the concerns that came up at the time were the colors. That it was
right.
It was an orange as opposed to a gold color, and that we'd modify. So,
Any further discussion?
If we do not approve of this tonight, can we work on modifying it? Or are we going to, I don't even know how we're going to go forward with the project, to tell you the truth. I think that really needs a little clarification.
Well, let me reflect on it. I can't reflect on this within the next month.
Can we table this for now, or is there a requirement that it has to be approved?
There's a motion on the floor and a second for discussion. If the board wishes to table, membership can make a motion to table the original motion on the floor.
Move to table.
Do I have a second for that?
Second.
I don't know who made the motion, but I think you have to go back to them. You can't override a motion with a table. You have to go back and ask the person. if they made
Modify the motion, that's
Yes.
correct. Okay. Read back of that? Wayne, are you amenable to modifying? It's a motion to modify, well, we're going to be modifying your motion if you're amenable to that.
Motion to modify then.
Second.
Okay, they're both agreeable to that. Now could I have a motion to table this?
Table.
Second.
Moved and seconded. In discussion? All those in favor of tabling? Opposed? No one? Motion's been tabled. Okay. That will conclude. I want to get some, I want to just talk about the next meeting. Wayne brought something up, and I'd like the board to consider this, and I'm going to ask the superintendent to look into this. But when we got into this venture with everybody, and as Mr. Burns said earlier, we had some restrictions. We also, we had some expectations that we would see within the year. Granted, we had some unfortunate setbacks with the appearance of COVID. That did take a toll. But I would like the board, on August 31st, what we had decided before was that while this was a 2-year venture, the board agreed only to would look at a 1-year look back after the first year. Going to ask this board, and while we're in tough economic times and we have made a lot of layoffs, it's my feeling that laying out another $25,000 for the next year would be a real slap in the face to those employees that we've already cut. And I think we need to explore this. What do we get out of it? We really need to take a look and have a serious discussion about whether we want to go forward on September 1st with another year of this, or whether we want to rescind and spend that other $25,000 in other ways for the upcoming year, especially with all the uncertainties that we face. So I'm going to ask that be put on the agenda for the next meeting. Anybody else want to see something on the agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? No one? We're adjourned.
We're still recording.
Recording.